with multiplying and dividing sign numbers, it's always going to be the same no matter what. So when you multiply two positive numbers, we've done that before, it's positive. When you multiply two negative numbers, it becomes positive. So kind of like even when we do, like when we did some subtraction, like let's say we have 3 minus -1 minus -1. Think of it like you'd be doing -1 times -1. It's going to go to +1. So a negative times a negative is going to be a positive always. And then a positive times a negative will always be negative. Same with dividing. Okay, and if you want to check out this website, they have some different ways of explaining why. So -4 times 7, so 4 times 7 is 28, and I have a negative times a positive, so it's going to be negative. -8 times -6, 8 times 6 is 48, and I have a negative times a negative, so it's going to be positive 48. -16 divided by -4, negative divided by a negative is going to become a positive. 16 divided by 4 is 4. 22 divided by -1, so I have a positive divided by a negative. So one's positive, one's negative, so it's going to be negative. 22 divided by 1 is 22. And check some of those out in your calculator. Make sure you can put those in your calculator and they come out right. Notice too all the different notations. You know, the top one, the parentheses right next to each other, that means multiply. Little star like that means multiply. Division could be like the traditional division sign or like a fraction line. Okay, how about 0 divided by -3? Okay, it doesn't matter whether it's negative, positive, 0 divided by anything is still 0. I have $0 split however many ways, you know, all of you get $0 still. Now the next two, we've got a couple different numbers here. So let's kind of do this one at a time, and then we can look at a pattern. So -10 times -5, let's do that first. So that'll become a positive 50 times -3. I'm going to change that notation to my little star. So 50 times -3, positive times the negative will be a negative. 50 times 3 is 150. Okay, so I end up with a negative 150. And I want to note here that I had 3 negatives. Okay, now the next one, let's go left to right. 12 times -2, positive times a negative, that'll be a negative 24. Bring down the -6, so negative 24 divided by -6. I have a negative divided by negative, so that'll be positive. 24 divided by 6 is 4, positive 4. So notice this one, in my problem, I had 2 negatives. So notice the first one, 3 negatives, and I ended up with a negative answer. And generally speaking, this is going to happen whenever I would have an odd number of negatives. And this is specifically for multiplication or division. If I have this next one, I had a positive answer. So I had, whenever I have a positive answer, that'll happen when I have an even number of negatives. But only when I'm talking about multiplication or division. Adding and subtracting could be totally different. But with multiplication and division, if I have a bunch of numbers, even number of negatives, it'll always come out to be positive. Okay, now a kind of refresher fraction one. So here, division, multiplication, division of fractions. First off, cannot have improper. So let's take care of that first. So 3/8, go over to the side a little more. 3/8 divided by -2 1/4. -2 1/4. So notice here, be careful. The whole number is negative, so that's just going to be hanging out front. Then we change 2 1/4. So 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1. This is 9/4. So notice I'm not doing 4 times -2 plus 1. It's just that the whole value of 2 1/4 has a negative value. So kind of ignore the negative when you do the changing from mixed and proper. Now we can do our flipping. Remember with dividing, we keep the first one, change division to multiplication, and then flip the 9/4 to 4/9. Okay, now this is where we don't need a common denominator. We can go straight across on top, straight across on bottom. But I could do a little reducing first, it looks like. Like I could do 12 over 72 and then reduce. But I'm going to reduce this 3 and 9 down to 1 and 3. And 4 and 8 will go down to 1 and 2. So now when I go straight across on top, 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 3 is 6, and the first number was positive, the second one negative, so this will be a negative 1/6. Okay. Now if we wanted to on top do 1 times negative 1 is negative 1 on top, that's fine, but then that negative only goes with one in one spot. Either that was a whole negative 1/3, or it was negative 1 over 3, or 1 over negative 3, but there's only one negative in that value. So be careful there. It's not like we cannot do negative 1 over negative 3, because then it would be a negative divided by negative and it'd go back to positive. So however you get to it though, negative 1/6 would be my answer.